The Los Angeles Rams, man. There's some freshness going on in LA as they have a new quarterback. Y'all traded away the quarterback that took you to a Super Bowl for one that's never even won a playoff game. I know. I'm leaving a lot of context out there, but a fact's a fact. I'm just saying. What's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave that thumbs up if you appreciate the content. And let me know what you think in the comment section below, because today we're going over the LA Rams. I'm giving you a roster breakdown. I'm going to tell you who I anticipate, who I project to be the starters. And then the cherry on top, I'm going to let you know my 2021 predictions for the Los Angeles Rams. So let's go ahead. Let's do the dang thing. We're going to go and take a gander at this roster, starting, of course, with, well, the most important aspect to the Rams offense, and that's the running game, because it's no secret, man. This is a zone-heavy blocking scheme with tons of play action. Actually, since 2007, no team has ran more play action than the Rams. And, well, they've also ran the ball at the 8th highest rate since 2017. So the running game's kind of important. And you got two pretty darn backs to do it there in Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson. Don't forget about Henderson, man. He's pretty good in his own right. They don't have Malcolm Brown anymore. He's kind of been this, like, start the year hot type of running back for the Rams. But he's gone now. I don't know if they entirely have someone that can replace that type of production. I mean, there are a few interesting names like Raymond, Calais, who was I think an undrafted free agent initially to the Dolphins because he spent some time in Tampa. But yeah, don't know if he makes the roster. Jake Funk, he's an interesting undrafted free agent out of Maryland who can, but for the most part, we know this is a Henderson, this is Cam Akers game. Now, unfortunately, the Rams just haven't addressed, I think, the most important aspect to the run game, and that's the offensive line. That offensive interior is not that good. They got two very, very good tackles in the timeless one, Andrew Whitworth, and then Rob Havenstein, who had a nice bounce back year after a pretty down year in 2019. So they got two solid tackles there, but it's really been the interior that's kind of been, whatever. Austin Corbett, I think he's a solid vet. I won't expect outstanding play from him, but I think he's going to come in and do the job, get the job done as he did last season. David Edwards, he actually improved throughout this season. So I like those two guys at the guard position, and they got some versatility. You could put Corbett at center. I don't think he's played center since his rookie season, though. But they also bring back Brian Allen, who missed all of last season after injury, and then I also think he got the Rona as well. But he missed all last year, and then the year before that, he was pretty so-so. But he comes back fresh. I think he is likely to be the starter. I think they're going to keep Edwards and Corbett at the guard positions, but there's some interesting guys they could plug into guard, like obviously Joseph Noboom. He's actually seen a significant amount of snaps there in LA. Bobby Evans as well. So they got options there. It's not they completely ignored it. They just haven't been able to really invest high draft capital in the interior, especially with offense like this. You kind of want that. But what they did add through the draft in the second round, they drafted Tutu Atwell. Now this guy's more of an offensive weapon. He was weighing at 144, I think 144 or 147, going into the draft. He's not exactly your typical receiver. I think he's more of this motion guy, and the Rams, they use ton of motion, and I think having a guy that come do these jet sweeps, or at least feint the jet sweep, I think there is a role for that, and I think he's going to be utilized extremely well. So yeah, I think this run game will be as good as last season, maybe even better. But let's talk about Matthew Stafford, man. He comes in. I made the joke. I know I made the joke at the beginning about him never winning a playoff game. But let's be honest, he is an upgrade. at the quarterback position. I'm pretty sure Sean McVay thinks he could come in and run his offense efficiently and probably be able to hit his receivers, something Jared Goff was having trouble doing last season. And he's got good receivers to boot in Cooper Kupp, who proved he can handle press on the outside last season, at least in my eyes. I think he could play both outside and in the slot. You got Robert Woods, who's just been a model of consistency. Van Jefferson showed some flashes last year. Those are the three. I mean, so much so they didn't bring back Josh Reynolds. And then, of course, you got Tutu. You got Deshaun Jackson, who's going to be this vertical threat. You know the boy Stafford likes to sling the ball, so having a guy that can go vertical, very important. But looking at the rest of the, like, who maybe could make this squad, I kind of like Tristan Jackson, who was an undrafted free agent last year, I think, out of Syracuse. He's kind of a vertical guy. But outside of that, there really ain't much to talk about. There's a few undrafted free agents, but it is what it is. The tight end position, Tyler Higbee, I think that's, of course, a great option there in the receiving game. They did run a lot of 2 tight end sets as well, but no Gerald Everett, so who takes on that role? They have him listed as a 3rd tight end, but Bryson Hopkins they drafted just last year out of Purdue. I think there's a good shot he can do that. He's not so much a good blocker, but he is a guy that receives the ball quite well. But this offense, I think this offense, it looks good. It looks potentially explosive. They're going to be contenders. This team is all in. This team is all in. How about that defense, though? So the defense is going to get a bit of a scheme change, kind of, sort of, with Raheem Morris there instead of Brandon Staley. And I mainly say that because just like how often Brandon Staley called these like essentially they were like 5-2 fronts where they were just tight. You had the 3 interior linemen, and then you had the 2 edge guys. So these tight fronts. Now Raheem Morris, when he was calling plays in Atlanta, because, well, who was the other cat? Quinn. He was terrible. Dan Quinn. But yeah, when it was Morris calling the plays there in Atlanta, he only called like these tight formations about 17% of the time. So I don't think we're gonna see a lot of that there. We'll see some of it, but not a lot of it. But I'm more interested in what they do in the secondary, because I really think Terrell Burgess is going to take a big jump in snaps. He only played like a little over 100 snaps last year. But I really think he's a guy that you can play in the box and play deep. You can play in the slot. Very similar to Jordan Fuller. And then Taylor Rapp, I think he will get time just because, it seemed like his playing time was being a bit cut. But, I mean, he was still in the rotation there with John Johnson. Like, don't get me wrong, but I really think the 2 better guys there are Fuller, Burgess, but I think we're going to see a lot of 3 safeties from there, mainly because the slot's kind of up for grabs at this point. They didn't bring back, who was it? Troy Hill, right? Is who they brought in last year? I'm pretty sure. But not to say, I mean, dude, Darius Williams is a guy that can slip into the slot. Don't get me wrong. Do not get me wrong. He can't do that. Jalen Ramsey is actually very familiar with at least Raheem Morris's coverage concepts. Like they're pretty much like a cover 3 team for the most part, and it's actually very similar to what they did in Jacksonville while Ramsey was there. So I think they should be fine. It's just, man, who really does play the slot here? And that's why I'm going to they're going to be playing these 3 safety sets. David Long, he just hasn't really looked the part. Maybe he takes a big jump this year. I don't necessarily think that's it. Though Robert Rochelle, let's be honest, the dude's a developmental prospect. He's a nod to the future. So I really think that's how the secondary is going to wind up. Let's go back to the defensive line, because Aaron Donald's really the only pass rush they need. He makes all the players around him look so much better. He's been that type of a force. I'm quite serious when I said he is literally the only pass rush they need. A'Shaun Robinson, Sebastian Joseph Day. I don't think those guys are like, I think they're maybe average, maybe a little above average players in the league, but he makes them look very solid. They also have Greg Gaines, who's kind of this nose tackle. That's kind of seen time here and there. They also have Bobby Brown, who they drafted out of Ole Miss. I can't remember, man. Maybe it was Mississippi State. It was Mississippi. But he's a guy that's also very raw. I don't think he sees a lot of playing time. It's going to be mainly those three, and then, of course, Leonard Floyd. So, if anything, maybe they have Robinson or Donald kind of maybe line up over the tackle and kind of like maybe like feint as another edge when they do bring those tight fronts in. Because like I said, Raheem Morris, he still did it about 17% of the time. Sorry, I had to think. So Terrell Lewis, the guy they drafted a year ago out of Alabama, who was looking pretty good in parts and pieces. Like, I think he could come in and play well. So, yeah, this is a good squad. Let's be honest. Like, the weakest part of this team is the linebacker core. It's like, it feels like they have done nothing with this linebacker core. This linebacker core is terrible, and it's not going to be, they're going to be good enough in 2021. That's just the thing, dude. With linebacker, it's probably the least valuable position to a degree on this roster. I mean, that's why they didn't bring back a guy like Corey Littleton. They think they're fine with. They feel like their defense is just as good by just having these plug and play guys. They did draft Ernest Jones, who I think could be a solid a solid option to get a good amount of playing time. He's gonna have to beat out more of their established guys like Troy Reader, Mekhi Kaiser, even Travin Howard. He comes back healthy this year. And then even Kenny Young. So, like, they have a bunch of guys there, but they have really no one good. This is really a very subpar group at linebacker, but I'm not too worried about it because we know the strengths of this team. They coverage well. They pass rush well. This is a very good defense. Let's go ahead and go to my starters. Now, I do my starters based on not necessarily like base defenses. I do it based on who I think is going to see the most snaps. I want to know who's going to be on the field the most. So that's what you're going to be looking at when you look at my projected starters. Starting with the offense, of course, Matthew Stafford, Cam Akers, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Van Jefferson. I just listened to those wide receivers. I think all three of those guys can dip into the slot if they need be. More so Kupp and Jefferson. Tyler Higbee, and then Andrew Whitworth. I got David Edwards, Brian Allen, Austin Corbett, and Rob Havenstein. Corbett and Evans, I really think they're going to stick to those guys at guard and then see if Brian Allen come back and play well after essentially having a year, well, not a year off. The dude was hurt at parts, so I want to make it sound like he was just, at home on the couch, just chilling. And then going to the defense. Oh my gosh. Someone just blasted my door. All right, looking at the defense. Leonard Floyd, Aaron Donald. Then I got Sebastian Joseph Day and A'Shaun Robinson. I really think those guys are probably going to see the most snaps. There really isn't. I mean, like I said, Terrell Lewis, probably the next guy if we're going to include another edge rusher here, but still I don't see that guy seeing a lot of snaps. Troy Reader, I really think Ernest Jones has a shot at starting early. While he may or may not be ready, he's at least athletic. I think he brings more upside than anyone else they have on the roster. Jalen Ramsey, I got Darius Williams, and then Terrell Burgess, Taylor Rapp, Jordan Fuller. I said I really think we're going to see 3 safety sets. I didn't even mention Juju Hughes, who they actually have listed as a starter here at free, but I don't think so. I think he saw less than 100 snaps last year, but yeah, I really think it's going to be these guys running the show, if anything. Now let's go ahead to my predictions. If you didn't know, I was going from worst to first, and we're like 23 teams deep, so obviously I think they're going to do quite well. I got them at 11-6. I got them with a 3-3 division record. Let's be honest. This is probably the toughest division in all of football, the NFC West. The Cardinals are good. The Seahawks are good. The Niners are good. Niners, when healthy, good. Seahawks, when they let Russ cook, good. Arizona, really depends. Cliff Kingsbury, man, I'm not a fan. But the schedule is actually reasonably tough. I mean, having to face, if this is an Aaron Rodgers Packers, that's going to be tough. With the Vikings as well, tight ends, Colts, those aren't easy games. They got a game against the Bucks this year. So it's not a terribly easy schedule, but it is one that I still think they're going to do extremely well. I have them at 11-6. So obviously I think they're going to be a good squad this year, and I think that is good enough to make the playoffs in my rankings. Yep, it is good enough to make the playoffs. So yeah, I actually have them winning the division. Yeah, which is weird because I'll get to it when I get to those other videos, because I still got the Seahawks and the 49ers to do, but those will come later. You will see. But that's it for the video. Go ahead and do that YouTube thing. It's always much appreciated, much obliged. And as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.